statements issued by hosts, co-hosts, guests, and anyone else appearing on the show do not reflect the stance of the College of New Jersey or the NJDOE OSE. Please use your professional judgment when implementing strategies and resources within your practice.
Little adjustments, big impact. The AT Center presents AT Talks, where every voice has room.
Welcome back for part 2 of our conversation with Carmelys Vincent. In this half, we dive deeper into advocacy, starting with a discussion of the transition from high school to college and the workforce, where we explore the shift in responsibility to the individual and the need for greater representation in advocacy courses. Carmelys then shares her hands-on experience working with state agencies and details the assistive technology that is essential for her professional life, including Otter AI for client notes and her accessible workstation. We wrap up with our game segment, Wait, Don't Help Me, where we test the knowledge on how everyday objects like the typewriter and the electric toothbrush originated as assistive technology. We hope you enjoy the conclusion of this episode. Can you talk about what happened when you transitioned from high school to post-high school and then even your college experience?
Yes. So high school to college to post-secondary, yes. So high school, I did have IEP and I did have a child study team. I did have all the things. I had a one-to-one aide. But honestly, I should have had more time on exams, more time on homework. Um, Not that I was slow to process it or produce it, but I often felt the pressure of being the oldest and getting things done at home, and then the trauma or the weight of abuse and neglect on top of that compiled onto that. I think I should have argued for that, and, interesting enough, my parents were big supporters of education, so they really pushed for me to get that. And so my school loved the fact I was in AP English, AP, Chemistry, and I think those were the only 2, and I think AP Literature. Oh, it is AP English, okay.
Mhm.
So when I got to Rutgers, where I did my bachelor's, I did, got my bachelor's in got my bachelor's in psychology and public service. So I did my bachelor's in psychology and public service, and that really challenged me because there was nobody I really was fearful of going to the disability services because I wanted nothing to do with the fact that I needed help. I remember one of my therapists, in college, he said, "Probably what is it that you want? You know, when people help you, you get upset, but when people don't help you get upset, so
Mm,
pick
mhm,
pick your heart," as one of my clients like to say, like, "Pick your heart."
mhm,
That you're going to get help from other people or you're not gonna get help from other people, but either way, you can't be mad at both. As
Right.
mhm,
I ended up diving headfirst in disability services. This is where I met my good friend Jason Cardan. And he was one of my note takers. I don't know if you know him, Vanessa. He spoke at
mhm.
uh last year's not last year's, the year before.
Year before, I think, but
Yeah.
yeah. Mhm.
So it's been a long time since I've seen him, but we are good friends, good colleagues. Um, yeah.
Totally.
And Carmelise, I'm curious about this, about not necessarily maybe wanting to go to the disability services office or now the accessibility
Yeah.
resource center. Um, Do you think, and obviously speaking from yourself, but I've heard this with other students sometimes too, is there a worry there or a fear there? Because it's
Yep.
something that obviously is intended to be supportive and of course very different, right? You have the IEP and K-12 education, and then when you do graduate, then the accommodations and the 504. So it is different. But what do you think that is, that hesitation in terms of the accommodations in college?
Well, so there's this dichotomy almost of you're free to do whatever you want. There's no one to tell you gotta submit homework and you gotta do this.
Mm,
And there's
mhm,
also stigma and this almost tabooness of disability, right? Because if
Mm.
I have the disability, I have to
Mhm.
own to the fact that I actually need help,
Mhm.
and it's a very uncomfortable place to be. But that also requires responsibility too. I think while you were saying that question, I was just envisioning the fact that perhaps there could be, and later on in the future, some kind of first year experience on college campuses for people with disabilities, like a prior to getting on campus. This is what campus days look like before they
Mhm.
actually start campus. This is what disability services is, and we highly recommend that you go for these services because it will lessen your plate. I think the burden that I carried was very much um not needed looking back with all the blue books and the I could have asked for extended time, I could ask for a take home, I could ask for so many different things, especially as a chemistry major going into Rutgers. I majored as chemistry major and later on switched to psychology and public service. Going into graduate school, I asked for help all the time, even to the point where
Mhm.
I needed all the services. And so now, I even on my work schedule for my EHR stuff, I say, "Hey, they know Carmelys is at." Actually, in my work schedule, I put TCNJ podcast from do not disturb. So the admin knows not to put any clients where I haven't blocked off.
Mhm.
And so that is really significant as far as uh challenging the status quo of what college looks like and also the different disabilities because for me as a person with CP, I am seen as high functioning, right? But there are a lot of persons with CP that have s are mild, moderate, severe, maybe using a wheelchair, maybe using a cane, maybe have epilepsy and other mental health conditions or physical conditions or a slew of things, and I often tell my supervisor that, "Look, currently right now I see 24 specialists, I don't like that, and so I shouldn't pride myself in that, but the fact that I need support, um, I let my clients know that it might take some time, but also using AI, using assistive technology, using things that make my life easier on me so I'm not overwhelmed, right? And so it's cutting costs, cutting where it needs to be cut so that you won't be wear down, taxed physically, mentally, emotionally, right?
Mhm.
Socially, all the things, every area. And then noticing that too, it's okay to ask for help, and support. And your friends actually do care about you, don't think you're an island. And so I really rally around my friends, studying for the boards and studying for my exams and graduating and then surgery as well. So all the things.
So true. And you said burden. Burden is a good word.
Mhm.
Before you got into higher ed, you had an IEP or a 504, and everyone else sets everything up for you. Everyone else helps you out and puts the goals in there and all that kind of stuff. But then when you get to college, all the onus goes from those outside individuals to the person with the disability. So do you think that maybe there should be, in addition to that college day introduction, some sort of advocacy course or maybe something that what disability services offer?
I was just talking to Vanessa about this. Yes, for sure. I actually want to create it. It's in my mind. So if it's in my mind, I got to put it on paper and make it happen. If it's a thought to really um, make sure that people have know what an advocate is, and there's so many ways you can advocate, and the subjects that advocacy can pivot into, and what that looks like.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Can you talk about your experiences of advocating alongside state agencies such as NJ DVRS, Division of Vocational Rehab Services, and how these partnerships have influenced opportunities and access for people with disabilities.
Yes, DVRS is a lovely, lovely agency. I actually have they are actually have been sponsoring my master's education right now, and helping me to get my LCPC. But and I have a great counselor, Tanya Inatop. She's amazing. And I every time I pass a semester, I always send her a thank you letter. She is phenomenal at what she does. I think advocating on what I need as far as assistive technology, this is through advancing opportunities. And the person I work with is Michael Graham. He is not like an AT, I think, guru, but he is in his own right because he's an OT by trade. And so oftentimes I'm like, hey, I need this. And so we've actually spoken and via text, and I said, "Hey, what do you think of this? What do you think about that?" And he's like, "Okay, we got the voucher approved. Let's look at some of these perspectives." And he'll come back and say, "I actually thought this might work." And I'm like, wow. So it's recognizing that some supports are not there. Again, back to my famous quote that closed mouths don't get fed because you don't ask. It may be there, you just never ask. And it may not be there, and someone is just waiting for you to make that door, to cut out the door and cut out the window and make a plan of action and all the things and be rallied behind you. And I'm like, Lord, I have so many ideas. Just a download. It's
Well, that's why
Yes.
voice to text is great if you ever use it just to throw it all down.
Listen, you didn't ask me what I use my 2 apps to use. No kidding you. I have, like, 1,800 voice memos from the pa for the past couple of years, and my notes is just around, I think, almost 1,000, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow.
I'm gonna give you a real-time number. Hold
Sounds
on,
good.
give you a real time. So my notes, okay. Oh, 14:05 as of today, date, the time of this recording. That's my notes, and my voice memos, and I have tags and everything. I said, "Wow," and my voice memo, let's see. Oh, 787, 787, close enough. Said, "Wow, I gotta start, uh, pedaling backwards on the voice memo." I just use notes. Um, and so I just love how if I need to do something, I'll write it down because you remember or process stuff faster when you write it down. And then I make a mnemonic like soap, or like if I need staff to do something, I'll do like HM, and so I can remember, hey, can you do this real quick? Then it's not so taxing on them. I'm calling them 50 million times. But also, if I'm doing a voice memo, if I'm recording a session or I need to talk to someone really quick, I'll do a voice memo. If I'm doing notes, if I have a homework, or if I call it Wade, where it's while at the doctor's office. So, so while at the
Definitely.
I'm making notes. What do I need to do during the session? I open up with prayer, silent prayer, close with endless silent prayer, and then what's all the things that I need, resources. Same thing to with school. If there's a agenda, if there's a homework, I'll just speak into it. It'll say everything, and then I'll go into Google Drive, Google Doc, and write up that. And I love their Google's also good too now, cause they have uh, the voice to text, and I said, "Not too shabby, Google, not too shabby, not too shabby at all. I see you, Google, trying to come for Apple, but hey, I love the competition, love
All
it."
that, yeah, I mean, that all I think all the companies get, There is that push, I think, for sure. As Brian had said, Apple really set the standard, but then everybody else is very quickly just continuing to update and move things along. When I think about these eight, because you had said something before, Carmelys, about utilizing technology to make your life easier, right? To make things more efficient. And you
Yes,
mentioned, working with advancing opportunities and having that evaluation to really look at essentially a setup, right? Like a workstation or the things that you use.
yes.
So I know we had talked a little bit about this, but could you maybe specify a bit, some of the tech tools, and they don't even have to be necessarily a specialized AT. It's great, like we were saying before, right? All this stuff is built in. But walk us through some of the tools that you use for work that are, is making your work more efficient.
I would say this device that I'm talking to you from right now, because I didn't have it before. The laptop has been, you know, the newer MacBook Air has been phenomenal. It holds up to quite the standard. Um, uh, Again, the aerodynamic desk, the laptop stand, the Bluetooth keyboard, the Apple Pencil, all the things I could just, scribble on a page and it writes in text. I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool.
Mhm.
And then they have my EHR has a mobile app. So if I need to check my clients, I don't have to wait anymore. And also the privacy screen protector. I was suggesting to Michael, I need a privacy screen because I may not always want to, client may want to talk to me when I'm out and about. I could just make a note on my notes app. But then if I have a privacy screen on my laptop, I can make a suggestion and say, hey, I'm not available right now, but jot down some notes really quickly on my laptop. And I say, hey, let's schedule you in so I can have while I'm out and about with the privacy screen, of course, uh,
Mhm.
to not disclose disclose private information.
Absolutely. Well, and you had mentioned too, of course, when you're talking to clients, that documentation, right? Those notes. So,
Yeah.
what are some tools that you might use for that is helping you, continue on with all that documentation in a timely, effective manner?
Yes. The key is timely, effective manner.
Yes. I mean, we're all trying to do that for sure. There's a whole variety of things, but what's most beneficial to you?
Right now, Otter AI, right? Otter AI,
Hmm.
I would say the portal that my EHR uses because now they have AI embedded into the documentation. So I don't even have
Hmm. Hmm.
client 45-minute session is up, 45 minutes, 90 minutes stuff for an intake. I press the pause button, it closes, it records said session, and then it generates the AI. So I don't have to press nothing and just sent, and my supervisor signed it. And you have the different major schools of thought, like CBT, DBT, all the things. You get to pick from which one so that the AI knows what format to put the note in. So there's the subjective, objective measures, outcome measures, assessment, plan, right? And then you have if you want to continue, if you want to terminate, all the things right there. It's just one click of a button. And then literally, wow, they should have done this years ago. But Otter AI, the EHR AI, which is therapy notes right now for the current practice that I'm with, therapy notes is one of the best. I mean, every day they're coming out with new software and things to update. Um, Otter AI notes, my voice memo, all the things, but then also it's making sure you complete it and get it done in a timely manner as well, not waiting. So procrastination as well.
When and you keep talking about, or we asked you, what assistive technology helps you? How has advocacy helped you in getting what you need to get your work done? So, how have you advocated for yourself, or how do you advocate for yourself in order to get what you need and when you need it and all that kind of
Honestly,
stuff?
I just raise my hand, be like, "Excuse me." Like, I just call people and sometimes in frustration, we lose sight of what is important. In anger, we lose sight of what is important. If I'm saying, "I need this," no one hears me, no one listens to me. But I know Vanessa has apples, pears, and I'm hungry and I need apples and pears to make, I don't know, a quiche, a pie, I'm sorry, a quiche, you can't make quiche with apples and pear. I mean, I'm pretty sure you can, but that's besides the point. If Vanessa has apples and pears and I wanna juice some apples and pears, but I only have 1 and she has 5, I can say, "Hey," I can give her a pitch to be like, "Hey, can I have one of your apples? Because this is why I'm trying to juice some apples and pears so I can lose weight, so I can better be healthier on myself, so I can produce for my friends and loved ones, all the things," right? Um, it reminds me that by being angry, I don't gain anything by being angry unless I'm using that anger to better myself or better someone else. Oftentimes when I was in the nursing home for a year, I didn't sit still. And the receptionist, the front desk receptionist, the janitor, the janitor, he was there every day. I remember him because his name is Oscar. And he was Haitian. He was like, "Hi, my baby. How you doing?" I'm like, "I'm good. That's great." He's like, "Oh, that's so great." And so all the Haitian mamas there, I literally called them mamas because they would swap with other nurses, so just so they could have me. Um, and so showing that, and so I was there. I say, "Hey, I need to be in a group home. I need to be in a group home. I want out of here. I don't want to stay here." And so my case manager was a very bit she was she was not optimistic, but she was realist, and she said, "Listen, these people y are not gonna get back into you." I said, "Well, they haven't met me yet." And so I made sure that I was at the social worker's office every single day, whether she was whether in the meeting, even if she wasn't here, I'd come back, visit, talk, "Oh, Miss Vincent, it's time for lunch. That's okay. they can leave it. I'll eat later." "Oh, Miss Vincent, they're in a meeting. I'll wait." "Oh, Miss Vincent, I'll wait." So I'll make my rounds, and that's how I ended up in the group home at this beautiful, fine establishment called Mom Cares in Piscataway, New Jersey. It's because I made sure that every day, whether it was a phone call, text, sometimes all 3, because I wanted to make sure that I led a legacy of because I did something, I was blessed with something. Because I saw that I needed something, I received something back in return. And if I can do it, why not you? What's stopping you?
Exactly.
There is no excuse.
Good. Um, let's talk about your current advocacy and community involvement. What organizations are you involved in and what do you do?
Currently I am in a lot of things.
You can just give us 1 or 2. You don't have to give us all of them if you want a lot.
The Division of Developmental Disabilities, the New Jersey Council of Access for All, New Jersey APSE, um, Sub-Advocacy Committee for the Division of Developmental Disabilities, um, Rutgers Club, their training program-ish things. I'm a big supporter of Rutgers Club because Rutgers Club found Mom Cares for me. And so because of my story, a little plug-in for their YouTube documentary, which is from reality to possibilities. It's on YouTube, and I could send that to you later.
What is it? Rutgers? Say it again. Rutgers.
Rutgers Community Living Education Project,
Okay.
and their documentary is From Realities to Possibilities.
Cool.
That's great.
And I was there sharing my stories on the emphasis of being in mom cares and what that support has done for me and how I went from um group home, from nursing home to group home in a year. So,
Wonderful. Well, and I know you're deeply involved in your community, and I think that is something that just also leads to just having good experiences. It builds connection, it builds that network. So when we're talking about advocacy, you also just never know who you're going to meet and how that might play out. So I
that
think it's important to be involved in your community and advocacy work. Um, just meeting lots of different people, and you never know where life will take you in terms of that, for sure.
for sure, for sure.
Um, you know, Carmelys, obviously, we're talking quite a bit. We're kind of getting to the end of toward the end of our conversation. And I'm thinking, over time, there's, of course, mindset shifts and things change in the disability world and best practices and the way that people are, providing services and really thinking about, I think, a lot of societal shifts over time. But if you could shape one shift in how society approaches accessibility and neurodiversity, what would that be? And, how can people be a part of that change from your perspective?
Wow, that's a good one.
Mhm.
It's a good question. Um, I thought of like a pipeline to success, right? A pipeline of access.
Hmm.
And you look at the percentages of my demographics. I'm like a 1 in 1,000 chance, right? I don't know. I'm just
Hmm.
statement, but as a as a Hispanic, uh, heterosexual female, as a b- person with cerebral palsy, as a person with a mental health condition, as a person with all the things, um, I'm not supposed to have achieved the level of accolades I have, if that makes sense,
Mhm.
based on what I have in my history too, DV, PTSD, all the things, and I'm the oldest of 4. My brother that just called, he has a master's in biology, and so he calls me, and this is the same guy that calls me a walking dictionary. I don't know about that, but
Mm.
it's looking like uh that we trying to not fit everything in a box, if you will,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
showing others from an assistive technology perspective, "Hey, let me help you get this across. Do you need something right now?" Um, and the urgency of it, right? If it's impacting, everyday life, that's a
Hmm.
threat to the quality of life and of care. Right? So, for me, if I'm not just like, again, if I'm not presenting my best self, I can't be my best self for my clients. But then if my client is not their best self, they're not gonna thrive. They're not gonna be able to work. They're gonna need more of me and less time being an active agent of change in the society for good,
Hmm.
of course.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think completely agree. Well,
Cool.
thank you, Carmelise, for answering all of those questions. Brian, what do we have next?
All right, we've got a game. We're gonna call it "Wait, Wait, Don't Help Me." It's a play on words from the NPR game "Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me." We've reached the part where we're going to play this game. Now, you're an advocate fighting for a world that is accessible to everyone, but we want to test your knowledge on the history of accessibility. So, Vanessa, you're going to play with Carmelys. I have 6 questions about everyday items that are actually started as AT or assistive technology or accommodations, and we'll take turns. Carmelys as our guest. Do you want to go first?
Why don't we let Vanessa take the lead?
Okay. All right.
All right, I'm ready, Brian.
All right. We all use keyboards and typewriters, but the first working typewriter was built in 1808 by an Italian inventor named Pellegrino Turri. Who did he specifically build it for? His deaf brother, so he could read faster. His blind friend and rumored lover, Countess Carolina, so she could write him letters without help. Or himself, because his handwriting was so bad, Napoleon made fun of him.
Ooh, I'm going to go with his blind friend. What the person's name? I don't remember.
Countess Carolina or Carolina.
Yes.
You're ding, ding, ding. You're correct. Before the typewriter, she had to dictate her letters to someone else, which meant no secrets. Pellegrino Turri built the machine so she could correspond privately. It's a classic example of how AT is often about independence and privacy as much as it is about function.
Oh, for sure. Well, he was highly motivated. So there you go.
All right. Question number 2 is for Carmelys. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. Let's talk about especially right now with all the snow and the rain, or the snow and the cold on the ground. Let's talk about some summer drinks. In the 1930s, a man named Joseph Friedman was watching his young daughter struggle to drink a milkshake at a soda fountain counter. To help her, he invented what? A, the sippy cup, B, the bendy straw, or C, the cup holder.
I think it's the bendy straw.
Ding, ding, ding. So the counter was just too high for his daughter, Judith, so she had to tip the glass and it kept spilling. He inserted a screw into a straight paper straw, wrapped dental floss around it to make ridges, and boom, the straw could bend over the edge of the glass to reach her mouth. Hospitals were actually the first major customers, as the straws allowed patients to drink while lying in bed without spilling.
That is true. And I used it every once in a while, yeah.
Yes. 3 is for Vanessa. Let's talk about sports. Now, this one I love sports and I love football, so this one is very close to me. The huddle, where players gather in a circle to discuss the next play, is a staple of American football, but it was invented in the 1890s by Paul Hubbard, the quarterback for Gallaudet University. Why did he invent it? A, because his team was deaf and he didn't want the other team reading their sign language. B, because it was freezing cold and they wanted to share some body heat. Or C, because he forgot the plays and needed to ask the coach without the crowd seeing.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So I don't think it's the first one because he didn't want the other team to read the sign language. I don't know necessarily about that. And while the freezing cold, I do feel that, but maybe I'm going to take it back.
Well,
Maybe I'll go with, no, you know what? I'm going with 3.
And you're incorrect.
Darn.
So
What's
if you
the
know,
right answer?
It's A, but if you know, Gallaudet is a university for the deaf. And so Hubbard realized the opposing teams were reading their hand signals, so he formed a tight circle to sign the plays in secret. Now every team in the NFL does it, proving an accommodation designed for a specific disability can become a standard best practice for everyone. And I might take this out, but there was even a commercial recently where a lot of football teams have helmets with microphones in them. But if you're deaf, you can't, or not microphones, earphones in them. But if you're deaf, you're not gonna be able to hear those earphones, right? So it's not gonna help you. So supposedly, I don't know the truth of this. It's a commercial, it was AT&T, but Gallaudet used almost like a heads-up display in their mask that would, in plain text, have the play up for the player so he could read it. So I don't know if that's totally true or if it really is. It was a commercial, so it could be, But I'm going to assume it is, because Gallaudet is a deaf university and probably does have a deaf football team. it's a good possibility that that is
Yeah,
true.
that's true.
Yes.
Look at that. Wow,
Cool.
I didn't realize that all that other teams. I mean, there's signs like baseball too,
Right.
different things like that. But I didn't know that would be that all the NFL teams use it.
Well, in baseball, there's big sign stealing. This is getting me deeper, but there's like sign stealing controversies over the player standing on second base and looking at the catcher, and the catcher giving the signs, and so like there's supposed sign stealing stuff with that. And, but yes, all right. Question number 4 is for Carmelys. This is a moment in advocacy history. In 1977, the 504 sit-in took place in San Francisco to demand civil rights regulations for people with disabilities. It lasted nearly a month. Who showed up to support them by bringing hot meals like fried chicken and meatballs? Was it A, the local Boy Scout troop, B, the Black Panther Party, or C, a group of sympathetic grandmothers called the Grannies of Justice?
That would be sweet.
I mean, no matter what the answer is, I love the Grannies of Justice. I'm on board with that.
That is sweet. That is really cool. Black Panther.
Ding, ding, ding. That's correct. It's an example of powerful solidarity. Brad Lomax, a Black Panther who used a wheelchair, rallied the Panthers to bring hot dinners every night. Without that food, the protesters couldn't have held out for 26 days. It took to win. It shows that disability rights have always been deeply intertwined with other civil rights movements. All right, question number 5, Vanessa. We associate this item with luxury hotels and spas, but the jacuzzi was actually invented in 1949 by Candido Jacuzzi for a very specific family reason. What was it? A, to wash grapes for the family-wide business.
No.
B, to help his toddler son who had rheumatoid arthritis. Or C, to cool down his brother who worked in a hot factory.
Can't be. I'm thinking it's 2, to help his son that had arthritis because of the jets and the water.
Totally. That's right. Ding, ding, ding. His son, Kenneth, had severe pain from rheumatoid arthritis. Candido took an agricultural water pump and adapted it for the bathtub to provide hydrotherapy relief at home. It wasn't marketed as a luxury item for the general public until decades later, but its origins are entirely rooted in pain management and accessibility.
Wow.
All right.
Well, necessity is the mother of all invention.
It really is. And final question goes to Carmelys. Most of us use one of these every morning and night. The first successful electric version of this device, the Broxodent, was created in 1954. Who was the target audience? A, patients with limited motor skills who couldn't move their hands back and forth. B, astronauts because gravity made it hard to spit. Or C, dogs because they hate manual brushing.
Oh my gosh.
Which one is it?
I think it's A.
Ding, ding, ding. It was invented by a Swiss doctor, Philippe Guy Woog. I hope I'm saying that right. While today we think of electric toothbrushes as a tool for better cleaning, they were fundamentally designed as an assistive technology device to give independence to people who lack the fine motor control to scrub manually. And that's the game. I believe Carmelys edged out Vanessa with one extra point.
Congratulations, Carmelys. You have bragging rights.
It just goes to show that assistive technology isn't some niche category. It's often the birthplace of good design that eventually benefits everyone. Thank you for playing. And usually at the end of Wait, Don't Tell Me, don't they have someone like record the voicemail? So maybe we could have Vanessa record your voicemail.
I was thinking the other way. I'd like Carmelys's.
Or maybe Carmelys, you could record Vanessa's voicemail.
Yes.
Carmelys, before we finish up, is there a way for us to stay connected with you, or how we can find out more about your services?
Yes. I have a number, my Google Voice number, and then my current email address for more to know about me, cvincent@wau.edu, and then my Google Voice number, and then you could just add that in there because I haven't memorized it by heart.
No
We'll
worries.
put it in the show notes for sure.
Definitely. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you to our listeners, and thank you to Carmelys for coming on, and we will talk to you all soon.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Carmelys.
Thank you, Vanessa and Brian.
Thanks. Bye. And that's a wrap on another episode of AT Talks. A huge thank you to all of our listeners for tuning in. We love making this podcast and building this community with all of you. Remember, the conversation doesn't end here. The team at the Assistive Technology Center at TCNJ is dedicated to supporting educators across New Jersey. If you are inspired by today's discussion and want to bring high-quality, free professional development to your district, Vanessa and Madison are ready to help. To learn how you can partner with the center and build capacity in your school, head over to our website. You can find all the information you need at atcenter.tcnj.edu. And while you're there, we want to hear from you. Visit the podcast tab. There you can send us a question through our Google form, or even better, leave us a voice message on SpeakPipe for us to play live on the show. Be sure to follow us on social media to stay up to date on all our latest events and resources. You can find us on Instagram and YouTube with the handle @ATCenterTCNJ. And don't forget to subscribe to AT Talks on whatever platform you're listening on right now so you never miss an episode. On behalf of Vanessa, Madison, and myself, Brian, thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.
Fall from lab to library. Access for all. The AT Center presents AT Talks, where every voice has room. Tech that opens up the doors makes every classroom bloom. Experts and users side by side, sharing what really works. The AT Center presents AT Talks. Turning talks into perks. Turning tools into perks. Turning tools into perks. From can I do this to watch me succeed? Yeah, every shared story plants one more seed. The AT Center presents AT Talks, where every voice has room. Tech that opens up the doors makes every classroom bloom. Experts and users side by side, sharing what really works. The AT Center presents AT Talks, fueling student success.